I'm not just telling you to get it done. I'm going to help you get it done. And sometimes we are the only person who can fill the void that they're missing. I value athletics so much and the people involved with athletics that I want them under my supervision.
I'm Pat Cohan, and for this THSADA Director's Cut, we sit down with Dr. Roland Hernandez, the superintendent for Corpus Christi ISD, one of Texas education's most respected leaders. In this conversation, we'll discuss building a career through patience and growth, superintendent-athletic director partnerships, resume and interview insights, and the future of Texas high school athletics. Before we dive into this conversation, we do want to thank our partner in this episode, and that's Nevco Sports. For decades, Nevco has helped schools create unforgettable game day experiences through innovative scoreboards, video displays, scoring solutions, and technology that brings communities together and elevate athletic programs. Thanks so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoy this THSADA Director's Cut. What is Dr. Hernandez's origin story?
Yeah, so unlike you, who's kind of in the beginning, I'm already kind of towards the end in my career. So this next school year will be my 34th year in education. Started out as a teacher coach in the middle school. I always enjoyed sports through high school. Middle school, have been doing every sport you can think of in a small community called Woodsboro, Texas. It's right by Corpus, outside of Corpus, and between Corpus Christi and Victoria. We had about 2,000 students in the school, so there you do everything.
Yeah.
So from junior dribblers to, in basketball to track meets and summer track, my feeling was to be as involved as possible. So I became a pretty good athlete in all the sports, and then eventually basketball became my sport. Played a lot of tennis as well. So I knew that going into college, right out of high school, I either wanted to be a physical therapist where I could work with people or be a teacher coach. And so I ended up doing the teacher coach, criminal justice double major for a little bit. And then I thought, I need to get out of here. I went to do my undergrad at Texas State in San Marcos. Got up to, 24, 28 hours in criminal justice. I could have finished, but I was ready to get to work, teaching and coaching. So I started out in Angleton ISD as a middle school teacher and coach. Loved it. Coached football, basketball, track, tennis for a few years, and then moved up with my kids up into the high school and eventually coached basketball and tennis up in the high school level. My superintendent at the time asked if I would consider getting into administration. I wasn't so sure I wanted to do that. I kept saying to myself, my personal goal was to keep coaching, win a state championship, and then I could get into administration. And then I met my wife, and she said, no, I think you need to go ahead and get into administration.
Smart lady.
Yeah, but they think that you're going to have more time getting out of coaching to get into administration. And little did she know, it took just as much time, if not more, as an administrator, because now instead of just your team, you're at the school for every team. So I started in Angleton again with the assistant principalship, moved my way up, moved to Spring Branch in Houston, up at the high school level. Love Spring Branch. And so I got nominated for the UT doctoral program, which you might know is a pretty rigorous program. And if you get into the program at the time, you had to move to Austin and they would put you in a fellowship at the Texas Education Agency. And they take 13 to 15 each 2 years. And so I went ahead and applied, got in. That's the only reason we left Spring Branch and moved up to Austin. Finished the program in 2 years here at UT. And then from there, I became a deputy superintendent in Belton, ISD, right up the road. I did that for a few years, went back to the agency to become the state director for NAEP, which is the National Assessment of Educational Progress. Did that for a short time, and then I said, I really need to be back out in the schools. Became deputy superintendent in Tyler, ISD. And from there, I said, I've done the deputy now twice. I'm going to stay put. I love this role. I won't leave unless I get a superintendent position. And sure enough, that year, I applied for the superintendent job in Waco, became superintendent in Waco in 2006. I was there till 2010, and then started in Corpus Christi. So I've been in Corpus Christi now going on 16 years, and superintendent as 12. of those years. And my first 4 years was chief administrative officer. So I've done it pretty much all from the beginning, and very proud about the fact that my wife is also an educator with 38 years. She works in Corpus Christi ISD, and both of my kids are educators as well. So it's been a great career.
With somebody that's done all the steps in progression, right? You've done a really good job of boom, 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 boom. How do you lead or help that gunner of a young coach, athletic director that's trying to get to the next rung? Like, what is your kind of meeting with them? How does that go to help them realize that this is a long journey?
Yeah, I love that question because we see that too often. And I say that from a superintendent standpoint. I think a lot of times with our younger generation is there's not as much patience, and everybody wants to go straight to the top overnight. And so what we have to remind them is to take the time to get even better at what they do, get some experience, learn from some really good mentors out there that are there for them, as well as I am there for them, get better at what their ultimate goal is, and then start moving in that path. I always tell people that are close enough where I could have a real conversation with them. One of the first things that I notice in a lot of times with applicants is that they're not still enough in one place to really make a difference. So they may apply, they're in a place for 1 year, and then they're applying again the next year. And that's not what superintendents are looking for. Superintendents are looking for people who have some stability, who can build a program or continue the program going strong, not come in for a year, give it a little taste of your own flavor, and then bounce somewhere else. And so after a time, when a superintendent is seeing that there's this individual that's jumping every 2 years to a different job, using one job as a stepping stone, it's going to put some hesitation in there on, do we really want this person here in our district or not?
Well, say they are in your district and they're in a role that they're doing really well in, and they come to you and they say, hey, I don't know if I want to stay because I'm bored.
Yeah.
What do you tell them then?
So on that one, you just have to be really honest and say, these are the opportunities you're going to have in the future here. Sometimes there aren't any vacancies at the time, but you know that eventually someone's going to retire or move on, and that could open up a door for them. On the flip side, I do agree with your comment, because if you have an opportunity, you want to seize the moment. You don't want to pass it up. And I've actually had coaches come to me as a superintendent and say, Dr. H, I have a good opportunity here. I don't want to leave Corpus Christi ISD, but I don't know when that'll come around again. And there's just nothing here right now. I'm always going to be the first to encourage them that you should take that opportunity.
Yeah.
And then, if everything's going well and you decide later you want to come back when something does open up, then I would do that. And who knows, it might open up other doors for you moving into a bigger district if that's what you're choosing to pursue. And sometimes even eventually the college route that a lot of our high school coaches go. I have a perfect example of that, and people probably know him really well, but Coach Justin Evans has been our Miller High School football coach. I got to know Justin really well because he coached my son in high school at King High School, and then he was ready for that next step. Excuse me. And so it was for an athletic director position, a one high school district. And I said, you should take that opportunity. There's nothing here right now. We don't know when something will open up. I would do it. So he did it, was successful. It just so happens the next year, the Miller High School job opened up. So he came back after a year, and look at the success run he had at Miller High School. And so we lost him this year after being with us a good number of years, but that's a good example of build your program, be successful, let people see what you're all about, and it's going to open doors for other opportunities. And so now he's going to begin his first year in Denton ISD.
Well, as a leader and having good people, keeping good people, retaining good people is also difficult. And there's so many opportunities, or so many things that are getting highlighted on social media. Sometimes people kind of get antsy. They think they should be moving, right? Yeah. Your big comment is keeping people still or trying to stay still. As a leader, how do you if there's not an opportunity available, how do you give them opportunities to grow and keep them still?
Yeah, in some cases, you can compete as a school district to help your coaches, teachers with salaries, and then the amount of stipend that you give them per sport. And when you can do that, I do that. We do that. But there are many times that you just can't compete with another district, that they're going to pay them more and then they're going to offer them more on coaching stipends. And that's where you just have to, come to grips with, I've done everything I can do to try to keep you, but this is a whole other level for you that I would encourage you to take it if that's what you really want to do. And that has happened too. So for districts, I think superintendents, and it's getting tougher and tougher because as funding is being cut and we're expecting to do more with less, coaches are being asked to do more with less staff. And you could throw a little stipend out there for the extra sport, but that is what's going to determine, are they overworked? Are they being compensated enough? And are they being appreciated through their stipends? And that's something we have to battle. I think that will continue to be a challenge as we continue moving on.
What is a stat you're really proud of when it comes to hiring and retaining good staff for your school district?
Mm-hmm.
Is it like, hey, we have an average of keeping people here 4 years? Or what is that stat that you're proud of?
Yeah, that's a good question right there, because as I think back, having been in the district for enough time now, what I noticed early on, and athletics has always been under me. In every position as a deputy or superintendent, I value athletics so much and the people involved with athletics that I want them under my supervision. So
stay there.
Okay.
Why is that so important for a superintendent to have athletics, be so involved with athletics?
Well, I think unfortunately you'll find that there are some superintendents out there that never were athletes. They never participated in sports. They may have done other things, and that's fine, but they might have been more into the performing arts, theater, band, things like that. And so when it comes down, I also was in band in a small district. I played the drums. And so I find myself really just a big supporter of extracurricular, period, more so athletics. But the fact that I was in band and my kids were in orchestra, I see the bigger picture to support all of those. And a lot of times you're not going to have that with all superintendents. In fact, when it comes to cutting dollars and trying to make things, that sometimes is an early target for people to consider. Maybe we should cut back on these athletic programs, start cutting people so you don't have as many, start limiting travel on where they can go play. That's the last thing I would want to do. I try to have a no-cut policy. We try to have all our middle schools where it's the most important for young kids to develop, to give them that opportunity. And so nowadays, when kids are playing all sports and they're having to decide by middle school, high school, a single sport to go year round, good example, when my son was in middle school, he was a little chubby kid. He made B team football, which we were very proud of. Every A-team player that went up to the high school who beat him out for a spot in middle school didn't even play football in high school. So they took up the whole roster on football in middle school because they're great athletes. But in high school, they chose to go baseball. So very few were on the A-team in football. And then those late developers, he was one, grew 4 inches from 8th grade to 9th grade. That's why I say, don't eliminate kids in the middle school, because this is the year that they're growing, they're developing, and they're building that love for the sport. So that was real experience right there.
Why? But why should a superintendent use sport to accomplish more goals within the community?
Yeah, you hear this a lot. It could be somewhat cliche, but coaches are more than coaches. Coaches have connections with students that they're not going to find anywhere else. And many parents will tell you, I tell my son, I tell my daughter these things, and it goes in one ear, out the next, but they'll come back from school and say, Coach so-and-so told me this today. And it's like, I told you that last week. It didn't have the impact that it's going to have with a coach. I can speak from experience as a middle school, high school student. I still remember all my coaches. It's kind of what made me want to do what I did. Same thing with my kids, good experiences, good coaches. And when you see these people being inducted in the halls of honor, and they're just outstanding people to begin with, but then have such great careers, there's a reason for that. And they make connections with all the students they came in touch with. And coaches, I'll say we as a coach, because I am a superintendent, but I still am a teacher coach. We take the time, we put in the time, we care about our kids, we want to know their story. And sometimes we are the only person who can fill the void that they're missing. And that is why a coach is special.
That's really well said.
Yeah.
You've lived it.
Yes.
Sounds like.
Yes. I've lived it as an athlete and I've lived it as a coach. There are many students who I kind of took under my wing and still.
Who was the person that did that for you?
Well, I have a few. Since I played every sport, I had a lot of coaches.
But there's usually one or two that like were at a perfect time, very pivotal time, something you were going through. Yeah, just your development side too. And it's like that one probably was the point of inflection where sport really mattered to me.
Yeah. I can think of my middle school basketball coach. Basketball ended up becoming my main sport. I was pretty tall in middle school. I made the team, but I didn't start. And because I was so used to being like one of the athletes, it was just a different world that I didn't feel I was playing enough. I didn't feel as valued on the team. And I actually considered maybe there's something else I might want to play. And he hung right there with me from beginning to end. And he said, you're going to be even better every year after this year. You're just going to need some time to develop on certain things. And I did. And I remember that he's no longer alive, but I remember that and it stuck with me. And that's why I say what I say. It takes work. It takes patience. And I guess it comes down to just trust the process. Let people help you get better, be coachable. We hear that all the time. And there's a reason. And it's like we tell the younger folks, we've already been there and done all this. We're trying to let you know what you're going to see as you get older and can help you out because we've actually been there to experience that. You're going to go through those same things. If you just let us guide you, you're going to be okay. And unfortunately, there are some that go a different route. But for the most part, our high school coaches are making a world of a difference for all of our kids.
How do you find the right ones? How do you find, because there's a lot of applicants sometimes for big high profile jobs.
Yeah.
How do you personally, what's your strategy to find great coaches?
So I think that that is a very important question because what we don't want is for principals and even athletic directors is to fill jobs just to fill jobs. And that's very evident a lot of times for someone who enjoys sports so much. I go to athletic events because I want to. I don't have to as superintendent. I mean, that's why we have athletic coordinators everywhere, but I want to be there. So I do. And when I go to a middle school and I see a game going on and a whole middle school game could go through and the coach never gets up one time, didn't call a single timeout the entire game, then that tells me that's not a coach. That's someone filling a spot for a stipend. And in the end, it may help putting a warm body there, but those kids are not going to develop in the sport.
It goes to like the whole purpose of it. Like
Yes.
everything we just talked about making a difference in a kid's life. And none of that was in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's all the work
Mm-hmm.
that the coach puts in too.
Yeah.
So how do you find the coaches that are going to put in that work? Because the only thing that's on a resume, we have resume reviews here, is wins. I built this team. We got this far. I had success at this place, this place, this place. That's why I'm going to be very successful at your school.
Yeah.
That's what a resume is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How do you get across that I'm an unbelievable people developer on a resume?
Yeah, I think a resume can tell a lot, at least trigger some questions that you can go deeper on in the interview. But you're wanting to see how involved they are. You're wanting to see not just what they've coached and what they've played, but what have they done up to this point? Do they do anything in the community with the children? Uh, have they had coaching experience in middle school? What was their participation as a student themselves? Those are good things. And of course, when you've been a great athlete in something, you're going to be able to pass it down fundamentally, at least to help someone. You at least know the sport. And so that's why I would say, as a superintendent, I don't get involved in the actual hiring of all of our middle school coaches. We do have committees that do the initial screening and interviewing for the head football coaches, but ultimately in the end, I do sit down in the interviews and participate in the final round of the interviews. And you're going to find that to be pretty common.
Yeah, but what's your system? Because I'm sure you helped build this system to be able to make sure you're not wasting your time in the final interview, right?
Yeah.
You seem like you've done this enough. So I'm trying to build a system as an athletic director to try to improve the candidates that I'm maybe sitting in on in the final interview side of things, what would that look like? What does yours look like?
Yeah, ours is going to be, so a lot of times it depends on what the opening is. And it's similar to a superintendent, if you have a system that's been doing really well, that you're creating a great pipeline of assistants coming up,
right,
then a lot of times you're going to stay within. But if you have a program that's just been the bottom of the barrel for years to come, and then there's absolutely no one in that pipeline, then you're going to go outside. And that's where we're going to really pay close attention to the experiences and the successes that those people have had in other places, in hopes that they could bring that to Corpus Christi ISD and then develop and build that program. And so the other thing, though, too, is that if you're not competitive in your salaries, it's going to be very hard to attract good, top quality candidates.
Is that anything you can impact? Like, control the controllables. Can you control that?
No, a lot of that is just depending where you live. I mean, South Texas is difficult. I mean, I feel we pay a competitive salary with benefits and everything, but when you go take where we are, and then you go take Dallas area and Houston area, they're going to make a whole lot more. But I remind them there's also a higher cost of living. So, you just have to weigh the options and look at what's best for your family. And then again, too, the quality of life. We love our laid back lifestyle in Corpus. It's like you're on the beach, and that's it's slower paced. You can get anywhere in 15 minutes from one side of the city to the other. I've lived in Houston. I was in Spring Branch. I've lived in Austin. It's a different animal just in traffic and the pace of how life is going on. That's where they have to really weigh their options.
100%. And do you feel that, as you go into the twilight, as you said, not me, you said that, of your career, what mark do you want to leave on the sport industry in Texas?
Yeah, I think I have left my mark. If you remember, great examples of this kind of work is Brenda Marshall.
100%.
Brenda Marshall's been our athletic director for many years, grew up through the system as a former student, lives in the community, and then eventually retired as athletic director. Brenda will tell you that before I came to Corpus Christi ISD, her job was very challenging. She didn't feel like she could do much. She didn't have the support to make the changes that were needed. And so because I just happened to be that way when I came in, it was a whole other world for her. And she stayed even longer than she probably had hoped, thinking she would retire.
But right there,
earlier.
I'm going to stop. I'm sorry to cut you off, because I think a lot of leaders get into this sense of, hey, that's your job. Like, you should be doing your job. But what I heard you did was you kind of got in the trenches with her to help make that job easier and make her more successful. So right there, I understand why she stayed for so long, because she had a partner. Do you ever have internal conversations of, hey, I can't do everybody's job?
I do, but the one thing that I'll say, as long as I know that I did everything I could to try, then that's making me feel like I've accomplished something. So,
but some people say trying too hard, like sometimes doing nothing
Mm-hmm.
is the right move so that that person grows and does it.
No, these are some things where even though she's as good as she can be in her position, it's not going to go anywhere unless her superintendent is on her side.
So
That
you're
would
engaged
be-
and you understand that, hey, I can make this. This is my move.
Yes.
But you just, I don't know, you haven't said it specifically, but you just have this essence of, I am a partner
Yes.
with my leaders. I am not the leader of them and they're doing the job. I am in partnership with them, trying to make them successful.
Yeah. I want them to feel that way. And I will notice things that would like to see improved. And I'm going to take the approach of, I'm not just telling you to get it done. I'm going to help you get it done. And so one of her biggest issues before I came in was facilities. I've been in different size districts. I come to Corpus Christi ISD with 38,000 kids, 2 huge stadiums, and they have these little bitty scoreboards that you might find in a little 1A, 2A school. No video boards, jumbotrons, nothing. And it's like, wow, this district is so far behind. And I had just come from Waco. You've seen the Waco Stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in my time with Brenda, I pushed for bond elections. And we've done 7 bonds. We didn't build a new stadium like these new ones you're seeing out there, but 2 new jumbotrons at each stadium. We've redone our tracks, all our turfs. We put turf at every high school. We upped the expectations and standards of everything across the board.
How did that impact the community? Not just the athletes, but was there a noticeable change in community involvement in the school?
It did. Much more community involvement, many more kids coming out to participate, people proud of their facilities that they wanted to be a part of, and booster clubs got bigger. And that has really always been the goal. Get more kids to participate, build your numbers, help them be better teams, hire the best coaches you can find, and let's do what we can do for our facilities as a district. And at that time, when I came in, we were the first district in that part of the state to have any turf baseball fields, softball fields, and of course, our 2 main fields had turf, but we also put turf at every single high school. And now every district down there has turf. Baseball, softball, football, you name it. So
how did that affect the numbers that superintendents care about? Whether it's dropout rates, grades, SAT scores, like what are the numbers that move the needle for you and your peers at the superintendent level?
Yeah, well, you hear it all the time that a lot of times it's the extracurricular that keeps kids in school. So by getting more kids to participate, more involved, you're having more participation, you're getting more community involvement from the parents, and that is what a superintendent wants.
But what's the stat? Like when you guys over coffee, not beer, coffee, over coffee, what do the superintendents talk about like being proud of? Like for a coach, they're going to say, hey, we won state, or we had this many people get Division I scholarships.
Yep.
What do superintendents kind of like brag about? I'm
with you on that. I mean, I'm probably on the coach's level
I know.
with those same stats. As a superintendent, we would be able to say of all our high schools, out of our 6 high schools, all 6 made playoffs and everything, whatever it might be.
Do superintendents brag about things?
Yes.
What do they brag about?
Everything. Yeah. So they're going to brag about their academics.
Okay.
They're going to brag about the success of their athletic programs, and not just athletics. I mean, you have your choirs, you have your orchestras, you have your bands. I brag about them too.
Yeah.
When they're advancing and their numbers are growing, those are all recruitment tools for us to draw families to our districts. That's where the superintendent perspective comes in.
So the stat then is how many new families, how much growth the community has.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's stay there. When you made those changes to the facilities at Corpus Christi ISD, what stats can you reference in terms of community growth? Not just involvement and these like ambiguous, like we had more.
Yeah.
but like we started bringing in more people to the town.
Yeah.
Is there a stat that you know?
Other than our attendance rates at games and stuff like that. But I want to go back. You made me think. I started to tell you a story a while ago and forgot the complete question.
Sorry.
But you asked what stat would I be proud of to share that like made a difference. So when I came in, we were losing 20% of our coaches every year. And I'm like, why are the coaches leaving every year? And so talk to some of the coaches and they would tell you, I could leave CCISD to go up to San Antonio. I have the exact same responsibilities with sports and classroom, and I'm going to go make such and such more than I'm making here. Well, so we went ahead and did a study with TASB, Texas Association of School Boards, a salary study, and we found out that all of our stipends were probably half of what their stipends were in other districts. So as a superintendent, shared that with our school board, and our school board supported changing our entire stipend salaries to get us to where we were more competitive. That 20% dropped so much. I mean, we had been focusing so much on the facilities that to them, it's like, I don't really want to leave, but if it's going to come down to money, then I could go make more money doing the same exact thing I'm doing here. And that's how we were able to keep a lot of our coaches, just by recognizing we need to pay them more. So on the
But you had data.
We had data.
Because everybody complained about money. Everybody will. But you could go and you had hard data to your school board and you were able to show, hey, we're not competitive.
Yeah.
And if we want good people, we got to be competitive.
That's right.
So I think it's the work you put in to get that data. So it wasn't this ambiguous, like, yeah, well, this guy can get more over here. It's this
hard
is
data.
done. So I mean, I think that's your background as a doctor and going through building programs and having to convince a lot of people. You need the data.
Yeah,
you can't just get emotional about it.
Right. No. And on the community side, that one has been more about surveys, surveying our parents, surveying our coaches. You know, where do you feel we are? What can we do to improve? What would like to see more for your child as they're going through the program here in CCISD? And then we use that data to help drive us. At the time, it was easy. I mean, anybody who was familiar with sports would know you should have all-weather tracks, not have your kids running on a dang wore-out grass circle out at the middle schools. None of our middle schools had tracks. They would run on the grass.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, again, through bonds and working with Brenda Marshall, what do we want in this district? And let's ask our community to help make it happen. And they did.